The morning Marcus Hale stepped into the concrete cavern of Wolfhart Combat Academy. The air tasted like metal and pride. The warehouse gym in Pittsburgh's Strip District throbbed with noise. Gloves on heavy bags, the chain rattle of speedballs, the barked commands of men who mistook volume for authority. Posters of the owner, Victor Iron Voss, loomed from every wall. A white, square-jawed celebrity coach with a grin as hard as his jawline and sponsors lining his shorts like medals. Pain is respect, declared the largest poster in flayed red. Marcus adjusted his glasses and placed a gentle hand on Ava's shoulder. "Remember what we agreed," he said to his 13-year-old niece. "You're here to learn defense, not to prove anything." Ava's dimples fought her nerves. "Got it, Uncle. I just want to feel safe walking home after practice." They'd barely crossed the mats when a young trainer jerked a boy's elbow into a joint lock that made Marcus wince. He stepped closer, voice calm. "Tilt your elbow in, not out. Protect the ulnar nerve. You'll hyperextend." A deeper voice cut through the gym's echo. "Oh, we got ourselves a couch coach." Victor strode from his glass-walled office, a tall slab wrapped in tattoos and marketing. He scanned Marcus, a lean black man in a plain jacket, and smiled like a cold blade. "You know more than my instructors, Doc?" "Physical therapist," Marcus replied, measured. "You're teaching a dangerous angle. He could blow his joints." Phones tilted toward them. A few laughs skittered. "Tell you what," Victor said, stepping too close. "You show us. 1 minute, soft touch. Prove your ethics, don't get people hurt." He made ethics sound like a disease. Marcus glanced at Ava. He'd spent decades treating shoulders and spines destroyed by men like this. Men who equated cruelty with coaching. The smart play was to walk away. "Conditions," he said at last, tone even. "Light contact. No headshots. No takedowns. Deal?" Victor boomed, playing to the ring of teenagers who'd formed a circle, phones out, hungry. He strapped oversized gloves onto Marcus's hands, fingers lingering too long, posture engineered to tower. He whispered, "Don't embarrass yourself, old man." The bell popped. Victor jogged out lazy, hands low, a smirk painted on. Marcus settled. Knees loose, feet shoulder-width plus 2 inches, weight alive in his hips. Victor flicked a joke of a jab. Marcus didn't flinch. He slipped inside with the quiet certainty of a man who knew anatomy like a map and dropped a left hook to the ribs. It sounded like a bat on wet wood. Laughter died. Something shifted. Victor's grin thinned. He lunged, grabbed the clinch, and pressed a forearm to Marcus's throat. Dirty, immediate. Marcus framed, protected his neck, and drove a knee into Victor's outer thigh, acupuncture-level precision to the nerve line. The big man grunted. They broke. Victor swung wild. Marcus parried, then stitched, jab, jab, cross. Each landed clean. For a heartbeat, the gym was a cathedral of silence. Victor roared forward, guard down with anger, and Marcus saw it. The opening he'd seen in slow motion 1,000 times in rehab rooms and shadowboxing mirrors. He fired the rear straight, piston pure, chin to temple. Victor's eyes went empty. He hit the mat in a sound that made the chain on the heavy bag hush. The timer read 0:28. No taunt from Marcus. He pulled the gloves off calmly and set them on a bench. Ava's whisper shivered the stunned quiet. "Uncle, you knocked him out." By evening, the internet knew a different story. The viral clip began mid-fight. Marcus striking first, no context, overlaid with a caption that read, "Unhinged black man attacks white instructor." The comments were sewage, threats, slurs, calls to strip his license. Overnight, the clinic he'd built in the Hill District, one of the few that took walk-ins, was flooded with 1-star reviews from accounts birthed yesterday. Patients canceled. The staff whispered. The floor bubbler's gentle gurgle suddenly sounded like a countdown. The next morning came with a knock. Officer Connor Voss, Victor's younger brother, badge polished bright, stood on Marcus's porch with a citation in prim bureaucratic script. "We need to discuss the incident," he said, tone level but eyes pleased. "Witnesses saw you knock out a licensed instructor during a class. That's assault." "We agreed to a demonstration," Marcus replied. "You have it on camera." "Right," Connor said, tearing the slip. "You're lucky it's just a misdemeanor." When he left, an email slid into Marcus's inbox like a hand through fog. Subject, "I have the full video. Elise Mendez, independent journalist." Her message was short. A parent had sent her complete footage, including Victor's light touch, agreement, and the throat press. She covered abuse in athletic programs. She wanted to talk. Marcus stared at his degrees on the wall and the photos of patients he'd shepherded back to motion. He wrote back, "Let's meet." 3 days later, his lawyer set a heavy envelope on his desk. The letterhead screamed money. "Dear Mr. Hale," it read. Our client, Mr. Voss, is pursuing damages for assault and defamation. $15,000 medical, public apology, NDA. On Victor's Instagram, a picture appeared, him leaning on a black cane, triumphantly fragile. Recovery is a journey. The caption read, after being attacked by an unstable man. Sponsor tags glinted at the bottom. At midnight, the janitor at Wolf Hart, a Kenyan immigrant named Omondi, met Elise by the mop closet, hands shaking. He handed her 3 flash drives and a truth he'd carried alone for too long. He makes cleaners spar with advanced students, Omondi whispered. Says it's for character. If we complain, he talks about IC. In Elise's 1-bedroom, they watch security footage. Victor leaning in close to Marcus before the demonstration, grabbing a wrist, lips forming light touch, while his body screamed menace. Another clip, Victor forcing a concussed fighter to continue. A third, Talia Webb, the gym's most promising amateur, wincing as Victor whispered into her ear, expression ice. Elise's eyes burned. We build this carefully, she said. We protect Omondi. We lead with the truth, then the receipts. Marcus nodded. And we don't break the rules. The next morning, Elise posted a 5-second teaser. A silhouette of a tall man looming over a smaller one. Text reading. What really happened at Wolf Hart? Full story soon. The internet's chorus shifted key. Wait. Context. Look at his stance. Victor moved faster. By noon, a local blog ran a headline. Former patient reveals black therapist's violent history. The article included doctored medical records that claimed Marcus had injured a teenage athlete 5 years ago. The letterhead was wrong. The patient numbers belonged to another clinic. But the comments didn't care. When Elise requested the police report, she noticed something. The handwriting in the updated sections matched earlier entries, but the ink pooled heavier at the loop ends. A forensics expert confirmed it. Same hand, different pen, later additions. Officer Connor added these after the fact. Elise said, voice low. He's lying to obstruct. Marcus trained. He returned to the place where he'd first learned to move. A gym on the south side run by a wiry black coach named Quinn Mercer. The bricks there had sweat in their pores. Quinn put tape roads on the floor and taught Marcus to drive them with his feet. Wider base, he said. You want dignity? It starts in your stance. Mornings, Marcus jumped rope until his breath smoothed into metronome. Afternoons, he shadowboxed in the clinic's back room beside anatomy charts, reminding himself where power really lived. Ground, hips, fist, breath. Evenings, he sparred gentle rounds with kids hungry for the right instruction. Elise filmed, not the knockouts, but the bones of competence. How to exit at angles, how to pummel for inside position, how to break clean even when the clinch begged you to be dirty. She titled the footage, Control, and refused to cut it into trailer porn. It would be evidence, not entertainment. One afternoon, Talia walked into Quinn's gym, hood low, eyes fierce and afraid. He wants me to call you out, she said to Marcus. Say I have to humiliate you publicly, or I'm done. He told me to target your knee. College track injury, right? Marcus stared. He'd never told anyone about the tendon he'd torn at 19, the scar a pale comma under his skin. He imagined Victor asking around in the godless way of men who collect weaknesses like stamps. You deserve better than to be used, Marcus said quietly. Talia swallowed. I don't know how to leave him. Then we make it harder to break, Quinn said. You train here before dawn. You learn to be clean. When the time comes, you'll know which way to walk. At Wolf Hart, Victor recorded a video, smile restored. Charity exhibition, he declared. Talia Webb versus the so-called doctor, Marcus Hale. If he wins, by some miracle, I'll drop the lawsuit. If she wins, he apologizes to the community he endangered. It went everywhere. Cable sports shows feasted on absurdity. Middle-aged therapist versus rising star? Ridiculous, one talking head scoffed. Predatory, another said. Smart, a third replied. He's setting a trap, and the internet loves traps. Marcus looked into Elise's camera and said, I accept, with certified officials, medical checks, and a neutral referee. She found one. A retired ref named Arturo Diaz, known for stopping fights before they turned into slaughters. No funny business, Diaz said. If I see illegal raps, I tear them off in front of everyone. The weigh-in felt like theater under bad lighting. Marcus in black track pants, posture humble and unshakable. Talia, shoulders tight, avoided Victor's gaze when he hissed, break him early. Don't let him breathe. Reporters shouted. Someone asked about racial optics. Victor bulldozed the microphones with a smile and said nothing that could be clipped against him. That night, Omondi was pulled over for a broken taillight. Connor ran his name. Ice was mentioned like a ghost. Elise's channel was suspended hours later for community guidelines. Their evidence vanished behind a gray warning box that smelled like money. Quinn sat with Marcus in the dim, the old gym smelling like leather and old victories. He pulled a yellowing index card from a cigar box and slid it into Marcus's hand. The handwriting read, "Win clean." "My coach taped that in my glove in '88, Quinn said. "I was fighting a guy with greased wrists and a ref on his payroll. He told me, if you fight his way, even if your hand gets raised, you lose something you can't get back." Marcus taped the card to his palm before the fight. He felt its edge like a promise. The arena hummed that night with anticipation and battery acid. The lights hit the chain link of the cage like a lattice of suns. In the locker room, Quinn wrapped Marcus's hands with reverence. "Fear ain't your enemy," he said. "It keeps you awake. Anger is what'll blind you." Across the hall, Victor leaned over Talia with his whispers like barbed wire. She stared at her hands. Text from Elise flickered on her lock screen. "Be brave for one night. Fight your fight, not his." The bell cut the world. They touched gloves and moved. Talia probed with a jab. Marcus caught it on his forearms and answered with a calf kick. The little things added up. The crowd wanted blood but kept getting craft. "Patience," Quinn called. "Don't stand where she wants you." Talia stutter-stepped, then ripped an overhand. Marcus ducked, let the punch skate his guard, and dropped two to the body, clean and mean. When they clinched, he felt it. Something too hard in her wraps. Illegal inserts? Old-school plaster? He pinned her forearm to his chest and whispered, "This isn't you." Her breath hit his ear. "I'm sorry." Round by round, the arena's hunger turned into respect. Marcus moved like water through iron pipes, using his feet to draw Talia into punching air, then painting counters on the openings frustration created. A check hook made the section behind the judges erupt into a wall of sound. Talia's nose bled. Diaz warned Victor for screaming, "Thumb his eye," so loud the front row flinched. In the fourth, Talia hurt Marcus with a perfect chain, jab, cross, hook that shook his bones. The old injury in his knee screamed like metal in winter. He breathed, placed his feet back on the tape roads his coach had taught him to draw in his mind, and shot the rear uppercut through the center lane. It landed like the truth. He followed with a liver hook that stole a piece of Talia's breath and a calf kick that stole a piece of her stance. Victor howled from the corner, "Don't you dare quit." The fifth came like a tide. Talia lunged wild. Marcus saw it. Same geometry as day one, different opponent, different stakes. He slid off the center, let her power cut past, and met her with a check hook that kissed the temple. She spun, hit the canvas, and Diaz was there, arms wide, voice sure. "That's it. TKO." No roar from Marcus, no chest beat. He raised a glove, then walked to Talia, helped her up gently. Their eyes met, hers wet with shame and relief, his steady. "You fought," he told her quietly. "Not for him. For yourself." The place shook with phones and love. Somewhere in the tunnels, Victor threw a chair and blamed the world. Morning turned the city gold and the internet into a courtroom. Elise's channel returned from suspension with a video that opened on a split screen. Victor's edited clip versus the full camera feed. Her voice didn't gloat. "Today we set the record straight. Not just about one man, but about a system." They showed Victor grabbing Marcus's wrist before the demonstration. They showed him forcing concussed athletes to build toughness. They showed Omandi, voice steady in silhouette, explaining the sparring for rent system and the immigration threats. They showed a document expert under UV light tracing the difference between original police entries and Connor's after-the-fact editions. The same hand playing two roles, the ink betraying the lie. Hashtag Ironvoss trended for all the wrong reasons. Sponsors pulled statements that sounded like they wanted to be remembered as moral. "We stand for respect in sport," Knockout Gear wrote, axing their contract. The property company that owned Wolfhart's lease announced a review for ethical violations. The district attorney scheduled an emergency hearing. In Judge Rivera's courtroom, Victor's confidence drained into his collar. Connor sat between two internal affairs officers like a child between chaperones. The judge didn't thunder. She measured. "Mr. Voss," she said, peering over her glasses, "your lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. Your conduct suggests a pattern of coercion." "Officer Voss, allegations of report tampering are referred to internal affairs and the DS office." Talia rose from the gallery. "Your Honor," she said, voice carrying. "He told me to wrap it illegally. He told me to target Mr. Hale's knee. He told me to hurt people to prove a point." She swallowed. "I didn't. Not when it counted." Victor lunged up, hands fisted, words scrambling. "You ungrateful." "Bailiff," Judge Rivera said, tapping once. Victor left the way he came, loud, watched small. Outside, microphones gathered like birds. Marcus and Talia slipped out the side exit into light and air. A message vibrated in Marcus's pocket from Quinn. "Gym's open." A month later, the harsh industrial bones of Quinn Mercer's gym had softened with new purpose. The old posters had come down. In their place, a banner that read, "Respect begins with consent." The mornings weren't quiet anymore. They were full, teenagers and grandmothers moving in circles, practicing fence positions and voices. Talia ran mitts for a row of middle school girls, saying, "Breathe. Power follows relaxation." Omandi worked the front desk and took the 8 a.m. class before mopping, hands rapping with the competence of a man who finally belonged. Elise filmed faces, not fists, stories, not clicks. Marcus stood in the center, hair threaded with silver under the skylight. He wore a plain black shirt with Coach on the back. He demonstrated the stop and step. He made a point of showing how to step back without crossing feet. He moved through the group like water, correcting a wrist here, a base there. Power isn't a shout, he told them. It's alignment. It's a choice. Ava, now a junior assistant in a neon scrunchie, corrected an elderly man's stance with gentle humor. Shoulder width +2, Mr. Davis. Base saves dignity. When class ended, Marcus took off his gloves and hung them on 2 small wooden pegs Quinn had installed in the office. Above them, a simple plaque. He slid the yellowing index card he'd carried into so many storms behind the leather, letting just a corner peek. When clean. Outside, the Pittsburgh sky was a hard, beautiful blue. The city moved the way cities do, half paying attention, half asleep. In the hum of the day, meaning lingered like an aftertaste that wouldn't wash away. Victor had thought he was setting a trap. He taught a whole neighborhood how to see one. Marcus had thought he was fighting a man. He'd fought a machine and refused to become one. The internet would move on, as it always does, to the next conflagration. But in a brick room that smelled like leather and care, people learned how to stand. How to say no. How to be strong without becoming cruel. Some lessons don't go viral. They go deep.